You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back to Real Talk Texas. Today in the studio, we've been talking about small business in North Texas and how Affiliated Bank has been helping them grow their business by doing just regular conventional lending to the small businesses, as well as now the SBA program that we've been talking about today with Colin Beal and Gary Graham. Gary's our president and CEO. And, we were talking about a lot of times businesses will come to the bank and they'll just be looking for a loan for either real estate or for whatever their need is because they're building a banking relationship. And I will say this, as a business owner myself at one time in my career, one of the most important things I think a business owner can do is have a great banking relationship. And it's very difficult, I think, with the big banks to get that. And that's where I've always found a small community bank that gets to know me as a person, gets to know my business, can watch my cash flow because I bank there. And a lot of times they can be additional support for me, and they can be a real good resource if I build a good relationship with my banker as to what I'm doing with my business, and an outside advisor for that matter. And we were talking about how, on the break, we were talking about how one of our clients had come for a regular conventional loan. Gary, you want to elaborate on that?
Sure, absolutely. One of the advantages we have as a community bank is we have the ability to be much more flexible in every transaction that we do. And so, in reality, if you go to some of the bigger banks, regardless who you are and what your credit need is, they're going to credit score what your opportunity to see if they even want to make the loan, and it could take a while to do all that. Whereas we try to look under the hood of the car a little more and see who the person is, what we're trying to accomplish, does it make common sense for us to be involved in it, et cetera. So it's a little different process. Now, I'll have to admit, I think that the Dodd-Frank bill does start hamstringing some of that flexibility. It does bring a lot of conformity to product that we'd never had before, but I still think we have enough flexibility in what we're doing in our marketplace to help a lot of people achieve what they want in their real estate goals, as far as buying rent houses per se, buying a building for their business, and some of those things. And, we like to dovetail some of those things into SBA if it makes sense for the customer to go that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to go SBA. It can go conventional.
So you do regular business loans, or of course in my area of the bank, the mortgage lending for consumers. But when it comes to business owners, LLCs, things like that, maybe I know that if I'm buying a house and I want to buy a rent house not in my personal name, but I want to do it in my company name. A lot of times lenders will turn you away and say, no, we need to have the title in your name, not in your company name. Does Affiliated Bank allow you to buy a house in an LLC and do a loan that way?
Oh, absolutely. That's where the flexibility comes in. We try to look at transactions to make sure they make common sense. Not everything we do is a cookie-cutter product. And if you come into some more of the commodity products like residential mortgages that go to the secondary market, sometimes those become more cookie-cutter and standardized. And sometimes when you go to some of the larger financial institutions, they have a product that has parameters, and you're either in that parameter or you're out of that parameter, whereas we might be able to look for an alternative to make a loan that they don't have the flexibility to do within their system. It's very data processing driven in their world.
Well, yeah, and if you're a regular listener out there, you've heard me talk about Affiliated Bank and our ability to approve more homeowners because of our Make Sense Mortgage. And if you haven't heard this before, what our Make Sense Mortgage is most mortgage lenders will come in and they'll say, okay, you fit in this box. They'll take all your information. They run it through an automated system, and it comes back and it says, accept, eligible, accept, or ineligible. And so it tells you basically you're inside the box. You're a cookie cutter, like Gary just said. Or at play, most of the lenders in the Metroplex, and probably 99%, that's where they stop. If you get a ineligible by the automated underwriting systems, they're not able to do that loan. And the big advantage we have at Affiliated Bank is that we can look at that and say, okay, let's really dig, like you said, look under the hood. What really happened with this person? Was there one incident that happened maybe 2 years ago, but they've recovered from that? And because of that incident, they're being kicked out of the box. Well, at Affiliated Bank, we've got the opportunity to take that argument to the committee. If it's a large loan, smaller loan, it's only a couple people that look at it. And we can say, hey, and basically what I do is I first approve it myself or decline it. And I'll say, look, I really believe this person's a good bet because of this, this, and this. And we kind of do a recap. And then it's submitted. And we can get a loan approval. It's not a subprime loan like back in, the early 90s, late 90s. There were subprime loans out there that were double-digit interest rates. We're nothing like that at all. What it is, it's for that what you call betweeners, that people that aren't subprime, but they just don't fit that agency guideline or the box of FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, any of those type of agencies. We've got a bank program that we can help you with that. And what you're telling me is you have that for business as well.
Yes. First off, we love homeowners because we think that's the core of America, and it's got to continue. And we love small business because that's the engine that really grows this economy and puts people back to work. And so we try to do what we can do to help in both of those arenas.
Well, that's great. And Colin, on the SBA front, can you give me some more examples of the types of professionals that you've helped outside of franchise? We talked a lot about franchise.
I've helped a lot of professionals over the years, doctors, dentists, veterinarians, folks like that. They're typically wanting to grow their business or acquire a building. Maybe they've been leasing for a number of years and they're looking to acquire a business or a building. I've done a number of industries that I had never heard of or had any familiarity with over the years. And one that comes to mind is years ago, I helped a gentleman who had a very small company out in Rockwall. He made a highly specialized part for the silicone wafer industry, and his main customer was TI. And this was something I had no familiarity with. It was very interesting, and he was a great guy. And one day he called me up and said, hey, I'm going to pay you off. And I said, hey, that's great. What happened? He says, well, I sold my company to Coors. I said, Coors? Coors Beer? He said, yes. And turns out Coors has a whole division that's involved in that industry. And you would never know that kind of thing just as a matter of being out in the general public. So that was an interesting story.
Well, that's got to be a great part of your job, just because small business is very diverse in America and in North Texas. And what I will tell you, you're probably in a great seat right now because of the growth we're going to be experiencing here based on all the experts that do their predictions of, the Metroplex is, just under 7 million people here today. We're supposed to be at somewhere around 12 million people by 2030. So I would imagine that a lot of these small businesses are doing very well. They're looking for capital and help in growing their business. And, that's got to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's great. It's got a lot of opportunity out there. Things are turning around. Things are happening, and people are starting to grow their businesses again. So we're excited.
Steve, one of the things I think is really neat about America, and especially Texas, and what I've really appreciated as a banker is I get to see a number of different people's businesses over the years, over my career, and I'm always amazed and thrilled at the entrepreneurial spirit that people can make money doing a variety of things, and it's always fun to watch that, to see somebody maybe doing a certain wafer like Colin was talking about. They found a way to make money at it. And one of the comments I get from around the country whenever I go to conferences and whatnot is there's a lot of Texas envy out there, and I take a lot of Texas pride in that. It's because Texas does have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, and they do have a lot of small businesses. People want to be their own boss, and they'll start their own business. And it's fun to be part of that engine in the marketplace. But I've always had an appreciation for the American business and all the different ways people make money out there. It's incredible. I mean, it's layer after layer, gets deeper and deeper. It's pretty exciting.
And again, you're listening to Real Talk Texas on News and Information 570 KLIF. We've been talking to Colin Beal and Gary Graham of Affiliated Bank, and we've been talking about how Affiliated Bank, community bank, is really here and helping small business in North Texas specifically. And so let me ask this. Are you just, as far as Affiliated Bank, the locations where you're right now, where can I find an Affiliated Bank?
Well, we're continually looking at ways to grow our footprint, and I think over time you're going to see us growing into more and more markets. Right now we have 3 full-service locations. one in Garland off of Broadway out there, and one in Arlington, which is where we hub out of, and then one in Bedford right now. And we're looking at a couple other spots as we grow in 2013.
You also have a lender down in Austin. It's not a full-service banking in place, but it's where one of your commercial lenders are located.
We have a loan production office in Austin, and then, of course, we have the full mortgage opportunity office that we have going on right now. So we're trying to expand our reach and our programs.
Well, in the mortgage division, in which I work for at Affiliated Bank, our listeners know that, we've got almost 200 employees. So even though we're a small community bank, we're a fairly large organization as far as the mortgage side, and I know that the bank side is growing as well through all the commercial lending that we're doing.
Yes. We try to view our employees, in a sense, especially in the mortgage side, as our customers, and so we're trying to help people that help people. And that's, again, is an exciting part of our business.
And it's great to be part of it. It's great to be part of an opportunity to where, if you're out there and you need any type of loan, whether it be commercial or residential, I really believe Affiliated Bank is your first phone call. You've got a better chance of being approved here than any place else. We've got Make Sense Lending in the residential, and now Make Sense Lending in as far as business loans as well. So you've been listening to Real Talk Texas on News and Information 570 KLIF. Tune in next week where we've got Colonel Miley. He's coming in, and we're going to have a show just dedicated to the military people out there and what Affiliated Bank does as far as VA lending, and what Colonel Miley does as far as him helping them on a legal standpoint. He's an attorney and a retired JAG attorney, and he is now representing a lot of active military as well as veterans that are out there that might need some help with their benefits and things like that within military services. And we've also got Jenny Manning coming back to the studio. Jenny's a great realtor up in North Texas, and she's involved with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and they've had some things that they've done with the military service as well. She's an ex-Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, and that organization, as you know, does a lot with the military as well. So tune in next week to Real Talk Texas.